Chapter 291, Fang Yuan vs. Li Hao, 2. Roar. The beast phantom appeared with a flash and gave a loud roar. The mountain-back toad croaked in pain and suddenly slammed towards Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan snorted and dodged. Mountain-back toad carried a small hill on its back. It was very heavy and had a slow speed, so Fang Yuan could easily dodge it. Horizontal charge Gu and vertical crash Gu were used in succession. Mountain-back toad repeatedly tried to attack Fang Yuan but could not even touch his clothes. The audience was watching the match with stupefied expressions. The mountain-back toad was a lofty and immovable image in everyone's minds, but right now, it was crying out from Fang Yuan's attacks. This kid is actually so violent. Li Hao was starting to get worried. He gritted his teeth and prompted the mountain-back toad to jump. "You brat, I am going to smash you into minced meat." Li Hao cracked a sneer, his mind full of killing intent. However, mountain-back toad's shadow was not over Fang Yuan. Instead, it was over Li Hao. Mountain-back toad's enormous body began to fall down and smash heavily on Li Hao. Most of the audience were so stupefied that they could not react in time. Only Wei Yang and a few others' eyes shone as they realized Li Hao's battle tactic. Just using mountain-back toad to smash Fang Yuan was likely to fail easily. Fang Yuan possessed horizontal charge Gu and vertical crash Gu. He could completely dodge the attack. However, the mountain-back toad was landing on Li Hao and Li Hao could use position swap Gu to change his position with Fang Yuan. As long as he grasped the proper timing, he could prevent Fang Yuan from reacting in time and be crushed by the mountain-back toad. With a weight like that of mountain-back toad, even if Fang Yuan was not squashed to death, he would absolutely suffer heavy injuries. However, the moment mountain-back toad jumped in the air, Fang Yuan immediately charged towards Li Hao. By using horizontal charge Gu and vertical crash Gu, he soon reached Li Hao. "Accursed brat, he actually saw through my plan." Li Hao was very annoyed right now. There was still some distance between Fang Yuan and him now, but if he used position swap Gu now, Fang Yuan would have enough time to dodge mountain-back toad's attack. But if he did not use it now and Fang Yuan stuck close to him, even if he used position swap Gu to change positions, it would be too late to escape and he would be crushed to death along with Fang Yuan by the mountain-back toad. Helplessly, Li Hao activated position swap Gu and changed position with Fang Yuan. Bam! The mountain-back toad landed on the ground. Fang Yuan, as expected, used horizontal charge to dodge. He was always paying attention to the cooldown period of horizontal charge Gu and vertical crash Gu. There were 3 breaths of time interval between them. Taking into account the time taken to charge 50 steps, he would always have a movement Gu to use. These small details often determine success or failure. Fang Yuan accumulated a rich combat experience in his previous life, allowing him to have no flaws. He again charged towards mountain-back toad, punching and kicking with an all-out offensive. Beast phantoms also appeared one after another, making his attacks extremely fierce. Stones flew about. Mountain-back toad got into a dangerous situation again and began croaking. The audiences who were hooting before fell silent. Many watched this scene, startled and their jaws opened wide. All-out effort Gu became so powerful and tyrannical in Fang Yuan's hands, even mountain-back toad could only turn into a punching bag and fall into a vulnerable position. One side was like wildfire, extremely intense, but at Li Hao's side, it was quiet and still. Li Hao had never expected Fang Yuan to persevere in attacking the mountain-back toad so relentlessly. His previous opponents had all ignored mountain-back toad and tried attacking Li Hao. If Li Hao was defeated, there was no need to worry about mountain-back toad. This was the strategy that smart people used. But Fang Yuan apparently chose the most stupid target to attack. He concentrated all his strength on mountain-back toad and paid no heed to Li Hao. Li Hao was given the cold shoulder. He felt like he had become a spectator who was not related to the situation. The situation was truly embarrassing. Beast phantoms continually flashed and converged in the air. Fang Yuan moved around mountain-back toad and attacked fiercely. Mountain-back toad's enormous and mighty physique now looked so clumsy. Not good, mountain-back toad is coughing out blood. Li Hao, who was watching the scene from afar, felt his body go cold. Position swap Gu. Strange lights flashed in his eyes as he captured Fang Yuan's image. The next instant, Fang Yuan's field of view had changed greatly. He was moved far away by Li Hao in a split second. In contrast, Li Hao took Fang Yuan's position and was standing beside mountain-back toad. He placed his palms on mountain-back toad and started healing it. He was inwardly startled by the injuries on mountain-back toad. He had fought so many matches on the battle stage, but had never seen such serious injuries. Am I going to lose this match? Losing to such a young junior? No, impossible. The intense premonition of defeat rose for the first time in Li Hao's heart. Fang Yuan sneered and charged again. How could he allow Li Hao to heal mountain-back toad so openly in front of his eyes? Seeing Fang Yuan charging over, Li Hao gritted his teeth, but he could only give up on healing and retreated back. He waited till Fang Yuan had charged in front of mountain-back toad before using position swap Gu. Like this, he was again standing beside mountain-back toad and Fang Yuan was far away. But Fang Yuan was not worried and still charged over. Li Hao's healing was repeatedly disrupted while Fang Yuan's attacks also had no effect. Despite this, Fang Yuan still kept on charging over without giving up. Several repeated attempts later, it was Li Hao instead who stopped healing, his complexion mixed. The audience could not make any sense of this. But there were still some smart people. Fang Zheng's repeated attacks appear to be useless, but actually Li Hao's primeval essence was greatly consumed. That's right. Although position swap Gu is mystical, it has its flaws and huge primeval essence consumption is one. The further the distance and stronger the target, the more primeval essence Li Hao needs to expend to activate position swap Gu. Fang Zheng possesses the strength of two boars, a crocodile and a bear. The primeval essence consumption of Li Hao to use position swap Gu is definitely a lot. Moreover, he still wanted to heal mountain-back toad. Even a rank 3's primeval essence can't support such intense usage. Li Hao also realized this and thus stopped his healing attempt. He did not have much primeval essence left now. If it were his previous opponents, he could still continue with his rank 3 white-silver primeval essence. But his opponent now, Fang Yuan, was also a rank 3 Gu master and had already established superiority in terms of primeval essence. Looking at Fang Yuan charging over again, Li Hao hesitated but had no choice but to go ahead. Fang Yuan clenched his fists and immediately abandoned the mountain-back toad, attacking towards Li Hao. Bang bang bang. His fists broke the air, the momentum and fierceness they contained were incomparable, like tide striking the cliff. Several moves later, Li Hao could not endure it anymore. Although he had other Gu, his true core was the mountain-back toad and position swap Gu. In order to decrease the primeval essence consumption of position swap Gu, he had completely removed the beast phantoms hidden in his body. Fang Yuan's offensive was extremely fierce, like the howling storm, making Li Hao have difficulty breathing. Li Hao relied on his previous foundation of a strength cultivator to forcefully withstand few moves before he had no choice but use position swap Gu to change places with mountain-back toad. Fang Yuan did not pursue Li Hao but began attacking mountain-back toad. Phantoms of boar, brown bear and crocodile flashed one after another. Rocks flew about and mountain-back toad spurted out large mouthful of blood, counterattacking in a frenzy. But Fang Yuan used horizontal charge and vertical crash Gu alternatively. As such, mountain-back toad's counterattacks looked really clumsy. How could it be like this? Even Lord Li Hao had to fight personally and share the burden with mountain-back toad. Fang Zheng's attacks are terrifyingly fierce, suppressing both Li Hao and mountain-back toad. The match's progress was beyond most of the audience's expectation. Ever since Li Hao abandoned strength path and changed into support path, they had never seen him fall into such a predicament. Li Hao's battle tactics were pretty good. The combination of position swap Gu and mountain-back toad was brilliant. Even Fang Yuan could not crack this battle tactic. However, he did not need to crack it. He had never thought of cracking it, just swinging his arms, and continuing his all-out strategy. No matter who appears in front of me, I will beat them. This seems like a foolish move, but actually concealed great wisdom in it. Savagery and tyrannical momentum was unleashed like this. This is a good method. Some people's eyes brightened. If I were to fight Li Hao in the future, I need to be like Fang Zheng, disregarding everything else and attacking mountain-back toad. As soon as these words came out, the person's words was denied and mocked by others beside him. Nonsense. You want to imitate him, is your brain okay? Fang Zheng can do this because he is a strength cultivator and his primeval essence expenditure is low. You are a fire path cultivator, you attacking mountain-back toad is exactly what Li Hao would want to see. Without primeval essence, a Gu master's battle strength was sure to fall sharply and would be almost equal to a mortal. In a battle, the side with higher primeval essence was often dominant. And as the gap between primeval essence quantity increased, this dominance increased further. The Gu master who thought of imitating Fang Yuan heard this and immediately choked with no way to retort. Someone patted his head and said as if he had comprehended something, I suddenly see that strength cultivators have their advantages. That's right. Someone sitting nearby immediately replied, strength cultivators' attacks draws the strength of their bodies, thus strength Gu masters have a common advantage in that they have little primeval essence consumption. Every cultivation path has its own advantage and disadvantage. Strength path being renowned back in the antiquity era was not without reasons. Everyone looked at the stage again. Li Hao and mountain-back toad were retreating step by step under Fang Yuan's fierce attacks. All-out effort Gu's primeval essence consumption was very small. And Fang Yuan's true attacking power came from his several beast phantoms. But these beast phantoms by themselves did not expend any primeval essence. This was the most absurd part. If it were other Gu masters in Fang Yuan's place, they would have been tired after dozens of rounds, but Fang Yuan's attacks became fiercer the longer he continued. His momentum continually rose, his fists carried with it the sound of the wind and were extremely tyrannical. The sound they produced were like the roars of ferocious tigers or the growls of giant bears. From Fang Yuan's performance, the crowd could see the grand and proud demeanor of strength path cultivators from the ancient times. His heartbeat pulsed rapidly and his blood raced. Fang Yuan felt more pleasant the more he fought. Since rebirth, he had been extremely cautious in his actions which accumulated suppressed feelings in his heart, and now as he punched and kicked fanatically, those feelings were all let out. The gloominess in his heart was swept clean. No doubt, obtaining all-out effort Gu was a turning point in Fang Yuan's life. Before this, he had to rush about busily, always in danger, not even able to fill his stomach properly. Encountering even a slightly larger problem would require him to think and ponder extensively. But after obtaining all-out effort Gu, he finally had the qualification to be proud and could use his fists to resolve many things. Like now, he did not need to crack Li Hao's brilliant battle tactic and could just use his fists to sweep across. Demons was cunning, but they were even more tyrannical. Sweeping the heaven and earth, engulfing the mountains and rivers, blood splashing the world, absolute strength prevails over all schemes. You are fierce, I am fiercer than you. You are unreasonable, I am more unreasonable than you. Demon. 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 Kill. 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 Fang Yuan fought to his heart's content, his emotions surging intensely inside him. Finally, he could bear it no longer and the emotions poured out like a torrent. Because hardships strengthen resolve, the strong-minded will not be lured by worldly affairs. Today I step on grass, later I shall step on mountains and rivers. From today, I will walk on the path of supremacy. Sweep the earth and laugh at the world. Tread the green mountains, step on the blue seas, bind the blue dragon, assault the sky. Bath in difficulties and sharpen the demonic soul, lift the flag and sing in triumph, defy heaven, defy fate, defy the universe. Bam! A punch ruthlessly struck the mountain-back toad, the small hill on its back collapsed, blood flowed out of its body as it was beaten to death by Fang Yuan. Horizontal charge, vertical crash. Li Hao was sent flying for dozen of steps before he fell down on the ground. Plop, he fell on the mud, no longer moving. The black mud mixed with dark red blood contaminated his flowery robe. He paid with his life for his contempt. The battle ended abruptly. Fang Yuan proudly stood on the spot, his masculine, ferocious aura pervaded the scene. His declaration still echoed in the battle stage. Other than that, it was a scene of silence, no one spoke. Chapter 292, Law Fragment, Traces of Great Tao. In the secret room, Fang Yuan sat on the cushion, his eyes shut tightly. Light silver primeval essence continued to pour into the self-reliance Gu. Self-reliance Gu was diving in the primeval sea in Fang Yuan's aperture. It was shaped like a cockroach, a dark brown-colored flat body. There were feelers on its head, and wings on its back. This was the rank 3 healing Gu that Fang Yuan purchased for a huge amount of primeval stones. Self-reliance Gu could be said to be the best Gu for strength-cultivating Gu masters. The greater the physical strength of the Gu master, the better the effect of the self-reliance Gu's healing. In contrast, the weaker the Gu master, the weaker the healing effect. Self-reliance, relying on oneself, it meant obtaining the ability to regenerate and heal using one's own strength. Fang Yuan had the strength of 2 boars, 1 bear and a crocodile. Now that he used the self-reliance Gu, the healing effect was on par with the flesh-bone Gu. This was not its limit yet. When Fang Yuan gains new strength from more Gu, its effect would surpass the flesh-bone Gu, continually improving. But the self-reliance Gu has its weaknesses. It could not heal others, only the Gu master himself. This greatly limited its use. Moreover, it was expensive. As a rare Gu, it costs 45,000 primeval stones. Even more expensive than the sword Shadow Gu. Thus, although there were many strength path Gu masters, few could afford it. Different from ancient times, strength path Gu masters now were of the lowest social class, holding jobs that involve physical work. There were many low-rank ones, few high-rank ones, and even less outstanding ones. Barely any stood at the peak. In the entire southern border, only Empress Wu Ji was a successful story. But even she relied on the ancient strength path inheritance to do so. This was an era where strength path declined. Now, Fang Yuan was using the self-reliance Gu to recover his injuries. In the battle with Li Hao, he had gotten injured. The biggest culprit was not Li Hao, not the mountain-back toad, but Fang Yuan himself. As he attacked with such a ferocious force, and for such a long time, it caused his muscles and tendons to be overworked, and some of them tore. Even the canopy Gu was in bad shape, needing time to recover. Thankfully, he had used the iron bones Gu before, thus there was no problems with his bones. If not, even his bones would have broke. Normally, when people exerted too much strength, they would pull a muscle. If a cannon is fired too many times, it would be easy to jam up. Any kind of strength needed a foundation to contain it. On this aspect, Strength Path Gu masters follow the same rule. Fang Yuan had the canopy Gu and iron bones, but his strength was too great, unleashing such a flurry of attacks, even his muscles could not take it. There was great stress on his organs, blood, etc. After this battle, there were lots of hidden injuries in his body. Even his sweat had blood traces. Since I started using the self-reliance Gu to heal, this is the 10th hour already. Mostly because of the steel tendon Gu, it is making my healing difficult. Fang Yuan had an understanding of his situation. Before this, he had been using the steel tendon Gu to transform and train his body. It caused the tendons in his muscles to gain a layer of black color, shining with a metallic glow, becoming tougher. Right now, his tendons were either pulled or torn. To reconnect and heal them, it would be much harder than an ordinary person's muscles and tendons. Why is that so? Ordinary people might not know why, only treating this as a natural phenomenon. But Fang Yuan knew clearly, he had been a Gu immortal after all. He knew these involved the natural laws of heaven and earth. Man is the spirit of all beings, Gu is the essence of heaven and earth. Whether the Gu worm's body is large or small, it would contain a law fragment of the great Tao. Steel tendon Gu's effect is to reinforce the tendons in the Gu master's body until they are tough as steel. This caused Fang Yuan's tendons to contain the corresponding power of the natural law, the traces of great Tao. For the self-reliance Gu to heal, it not only has to recover the body's tendons, but also has to overcome and overwrite this layer of natural law. But thankfully, this law did not clash with the healing law. Otherwise, not only would Fang Yuan not be healed, he would be damaged instead. Similarly, the brown bear innate strength Gu, black and white boar Gu, and crocodile strength Gu were the same. They contained the great Tao law fragments regarding physical strength. When their strength lurk in Fang Yuan's body, they form into beast phantoms and conceal themselves. Only after he unleashes their true power could they be seen by the naked eye. The so-called beast phantom, its essence was the Tao mark of physical strength, a trace of great Tao in heaven and earth. Take the poison vow Gu as another example. It contained the law of restriction, it stays in a Gu master's body to restrict them. This Tao mark is normally not seen, but under the effect of the eating one's words Gu, it will be forced to appear, and then exterminated. The law contained in the eating one's words Gu were opposite of the poison vow Gu. But the former was slightly stronger, thus it could overwrite the other. Or taking it further, why did the rainbow light Gu, position swap Gu, require Gu masters to be free of strength modifications? It was the same reason. The law of strength would interfere with the law of light and the law of space. If the Tao mark of strength is too strong, it would cause the two Gu to fail when utilized. Gu masters use Gu, but the truth is that they use the great Tao law fragments within the Gu. Gu is the carrier of the fragment, a tool of heaven and earth. When Gu masters refine Gu, they are fusing laws, and forming laws. Nurturing Gu, using Gu and refining Gu. Gu cultivation is not a small Tao, but a true great Tao. In cultivating, Gu masters learn about nature, and learn about heaven and earth. This is why the hope for immortality, and becoming an everlasting existence still remain. Feng Yuan was clear in his heart. Because hardship strengthen resolve, the strong-minded will not be lured by worldly affairs. Today I step on grass, later I shall step on mountains and rivers. In the study room, Xianxia Fei muttered, thinking about the poem Feng Yuan recited, showing interest on his face. Because of difficulties, one gain aspirations and resolve. The allure of the mortal world cannot restrict one's heart. What grand aspirations! Especially that last line, are you treating my Shang clan as grass? Lord Clan Leader, the way I see it, Fang Zheng was referring to his opponent Li Hao, being too weak for him. Wei Yang cupped his fists and said. Xianxia Fei shook his head, it is fine, I am not so narrow-minded. But it is a pity I missed a good show. Although I did not see it personally, I can imagine the scene of Fang Zheng unleashing his ability, striking with a grand aura. Xianxia Fei stood at a high point, he had a broad vision, and naturally was broad-minded. Towards Feng Yuan's aspirations, he could understand, and appreciate it. Reminded by Xianxia Fei, Wei Yang recalled the scene of the battle, and exclaimed, that is indeed so. The battlefield back then, Fang Zheng was extremely ferocious, stunning the spectators, everyone was dominated by his aura and no one said a word. Xianxia Fei got up from his seat, strolling slowly to the window, armies are easily built, but generals are hard to come by. A pity this general is too arrogant, not even placing Shang clan in his eyes. But, he had gone through tough times, managed to survive, and gained much from it, as his cultivation rose rapidly. This caused his nature to develop in that direction. Lord Clan Leader's analysis is spot on. Young men would definitely have such ambitions, being lawless and fearless. Wei Yang lowered his head, adding on. Xianxia Fei looked outside the window, squinting. Feng Yuan equated Shang clan city to grass, this was an overwhelming aspiration, he was definitely someone with great ambition. But Xianxia Fei himself did not mind that. He was a man standing at the peak, on the top of the whole southern border, he could definitely accept people with ambitions. Furthermore, Shang clan city would not truly become grass just because someone said so. What he minded was the first sentence. Because hardship strengthen resolve, the strong-minded will not be lured by worldly affairs. In this world, there were lots of people with great ambitions but no ability, while people with aspirations and talent were few, 1 in a million. Those who not only had talent and aspirations, but also a firm will, were almost non-existent. Aspiration and talent were not scary, but if they had an indomitable will and determination, that would cause worry. Such a person, in history, he would either be called a hero, a villain, or a conqueror. Such people can change history, and create history. Such a person, how would he submit to others? How would he allow himself to be used by Shang clan? If he could not be used, and this person walks the demonic path, he would definitely leave his mark in this world, causing storms and disasters in his life. This was not something the righteous path wants to see. Thinking so, Xianxia Fei suddenly said, I heard, Fang Zheng snatched Li Rant's opportunity, thus he compensated him 200,000 primeval stones to repay the favor. How much does he still owe? Wei Yang replied, he already paid 130,000, only 70,000 remain. But it should be repaid soon. Hearing this, Xianxia Fei's worry eased. He nodded, that's true. Someone with ambition would not mind the small details, so what if it is 200,000 primeval stones? He. Thinking of how Feng Yuan saved Xianxia, Xianxia Fei laughed. He was really interesting, doing things with his own principles, repaying kindness and taking revenge for hatred. But he does not have righteous morals nor any restraints. Such a nature was dangerous, but there was still hope of recruiting and controlling him. Right now he was at the peak of his fame, there was little hope of recruiting him, they had to wait. After he faces hardship from reality, they will use kindness to move him, and recruit him under Xianxia's wing. With such a helper, Shang Yanfei would feel assured about her safety. Never mind, Fang Zheng, let me see how far you can go. Shang Yanfei thought in his heart. He had a sharp foresight, entirely clear of the situation. After Fang Yuan killed Li Hao, the entire battle zone went into a commotion. The power of the all-out effort Gu was seen by everyone. Many started to realize Fang Yuan was a tough opponent. But on the other hand, it made many experts start to notice and desire the all-out effort Gu. Fang Yuan would have a peaceful time for a while, but soon, those days will end. According to his nature, he would definitely suffer extensively. At that time, he would know how weak he truly was. Using the battle stage, he would be suppressed and polished. As Shang Yanfei predicted, Fang Yuan's days got easier, as he won without a fight in his subsequent matches. Who was Li Hao? He was the number one strongest in 5th Inner City battle stage, someone about to rise to 4th Inner City. Even he died by Fang Yuan's iron fist, who could stop him? But a forceful challenge cannot be cancelled. Those demonic Gu masters thinking of taking advantage of the situation were forced to enter the arena. At the start, some minded their reputation and tried to spar with Fang Yuan. But Fang Yuan heavily injured several people, and after he killed one person, they did not dare to think highly of themselves anymore. Once the battle started, they surrendered. 19, 20, 21 victories. Fang Yuan went onto the stage no longer to battle, but just to collect primeval stones. It could be said to be the easiest time of his life. And during this period, a group of pursuing by Clan Gu masters arrived at the foot of Shang Clan City. Chapter 293, Heaven is Blind. We've finally reached Shang Clan City. Staring at the mountain of buildings, Bai Feng sighed. He was a Bai clan elder. When he was young, he roamed the southern border, and had once came to Shang Clan City. But this time round, he was already old, the buildings were all unfamiliar to him, and even his goal was to arrest the two demonic Gu masters. Do you guys think those two demonic scoundrels really chose this direction? Bai Lian sounded worried. It should be this direction. We split into a few groups at the place where the footless bird landed, but the other directions were all dead ends. Only this path left behind traces. Tai Dao Ku said. He was uncertain in his heart. Although Tai Clan was the number one investigator in the southern border, he was an attacking type Gu master. Moreover, the southern border had many forests and mountains, complex terrain that made it easy to hide oneself and difficult to trace them. Maybe the two of them died long ago along the way, becoming food for wild beasts. Someone said optimistically. There was a huge possibility in this. They had found many traces of skeletons along the way, and all the remains of the caravan assaulted by beast hordes. I do hope they are alive. Bai Zhanlai gritted his teeth. His grandfather was killed by Fang and Bai. He wanted to kill them with his own hands, taking revenge for that intense hatred in his heart. Alright, let's enter the city first. If there are no discoveries, we shall spend some primeval stones to send a letter to clan leader, and see what orders she has for us. Bai Feng took the first step. The few of them arrived at the city gate looking like travelers on a long journey. Coincidentally, this gate was the one Fang and Bai had once gone through. To enter the city, each person has to pay 10 primeval stones. The city guard stopped them from entering. Bai Feng took out a yellow pair token, waving it. The guard looked at it, and after inspecting it, said, "Yellow pair token can exempt 3 people from the fees." Bai Feng's group of 6 handed in 30 primeval stones. "This brother, did you see the 2 of them entering the city?" Bai Zhanlai pointed at an arrest warrant on the wall, asking. This was the arrest warrant for Fong and Bai. But the surface of this arrest warrant had been covered by another new arrest warrant, almost half of the surface was covered. This was common. Once in a while, new arrest warrants would appear. The city guard's expression changed, howling at Bai Zhanlai, "What are you saying? A city gate with me guarding, how can there be a demonic Gu master entering? Do you think I am blind? This is slander, you are slandering a righteous young man from Shang clan." Bai Zhanlai's expression froze. Clan elder Bai Feng quickly apologized. In Shang clan city, even if he was a Bai clan elder, he had to lower his head. The city guard saw Bai Feng's rank 3 cultivation, and did not dare to pursue the matter, only muttering under his breath. Only until Tai Dao Ku showed an unhappy expression, and displayed his identity. "Enough, shut up. Do you think my Tai clan is unclear of what your Shang clan is like?" The city guard stopped speaking. After facing this initial display of authority, Bai clan entered the outer city grimly. "Let's get some food, we are all tired after these few days of traveling. We need to rest, it will not affect our mission. I know a good restaurant in 5th Inner City, it is at the battle zone, I had participated in it back in the day, and reached 4th Inner City." Bai Feng recommended. This suggestion was well received. The gang arrived at 5th Inner City, at the battle zone. Bai Zhanlai, Bai Lian and the other juniors were instantly awed by the atmosphere of the battle zone. As they walked, they could hear the people's excited conversations. Tan Jing finally took revenge, and defeated Shi Nansheng. Shi Nansheng vowed to take revenge, their grudge is growing. Sang Kong controls the virus Cloud Moth, his battle strength has risen again, he can almost dominate the 5th Inner City. Dominate? He will have to wait until Guyu Fangzheng ascends to 4th Inner City. Guyu Fangzheng. Bai Clan's gang stared with wide-opened eyes, like they were struck by lightning. They quickly stopped, and stared at the talking passerby. They scared the shit out of him. After 3 minutes. On the battle stage, Fang Yuan walked up to the stage. His opponent was a middle-aged man, tall and burly, thick waist and shoulder, with a long mustache on his face, looking extremely fierce and aggressive. Ding! The bell rang and the battle officially started. "I admit defeat," the middle-aged man shouted at the first second. He was swift and direct, causing the audience to feel unsatisfied. "Again? Aren't you embarrassed, admitting defeat before fighting?" "Embarrassment is better than dying, in the entire 5th Inner City now, who dares to fight against Fangzheng? The all-out effort Gu is too powerful." The crowd was noisy as usual. The battle ended as soon as it started. The hosting Gu master took both their Vine information Gu and edited the information inside before returning it to them. The middle-aged man turned to leave, admitting defeat was a humiliation, but circumstances forced him to. After all, Fang Yuan was cruel and ruthless, he never spares his opponents. He did not dare to fight just to save his reputation. Fang Yuan did not leave immediately, but took out 40,000 primeval stones and handed them to Li Ran. This caused everyone to go into discussions again. Another 40,000, he really gave it. Although this Guyu Fangzheng is ruthless, he keeps his word. 200,000, he has repaid most of it already. Only 30,000 remain. Li Ran used these primeval stones to purchase Gu worms, he is starting to display his strength in the battle zone. I am so envious. Repaying kindness and taking revenge for hatred. From this aspect, I truly respect Gu Yufangzheng. With this win, he is at 29 net wins. Just one last match, and he would be in 4th inner city. The faster the better. How dares to challenge him? Even Li Hao died by his hands. Gu Yufangzheng, after all these hardships, we've finally found you. Among the crowd, Bai Zhanlai gritted his teeth, as his face contorted with anger. His companions also showed an ugly expression. They had chased after him for so long, suffering along the journey. In the end, they found that the person they wanted to arrest had been living luxuriously in Xianxia city, making a name for himself. Before this, they had continuously guessed if he had died under the beast hordes, digested into feces and defecated. The scene now was a huge contrast to their expectations. Not only did Fang Yuan not have problems, he was living well, even changing his gu worms and raising his battle strength and cultivation. What were they supposed to feel? Oh, heaven is blind, how can such a vile scoundrel live so well? Bai Feng raised his head and cried out. His luck is too good, saving the illegitimate daughter of Shang clan leader and receiving the purple thorn token. In Shang clan city, we can do nothing to him, he is protected by Shang clan. Bai Lian gritted her teeth, she had learnt much from the passerby. The enemy who killed the 2 young masters were right before them, but there was nothing they could do to him. Not only him, even that Bai Ningbing received the purple thorn token. Now, she has also joined the battle stage, and has good battle records. A companion beside her side. What world is this? Evil people live well while good people die. Sigh. Actually, it is not like we have no way to deal with them. They could join the battle stage, so can we. Tai Dao Ku spoke with a low voice, his gaze sharp as daggers. He had heard from Bai clan leader that Fang Yuan had the charred thunder potato mother Gu. Right now, he could confirm that Fang and Bai were the ones who killed his young master. But arresting them was impossible now, so why not just kill them? That way, young master's revenge can be taken, and Tai Dao Ku can return to Tai clan. That's right. This is a good idea. Bai Feng's eyes shone, as his spirits were lifted. Using the rules of the battle stage, even if Fang Yuan had the purple thorn token, he could not be protected. Even if they could not kill him, taking away his all-out effort Gu would halt his growth. The truth is, his growth speed was too scary, it struck fear in them. He cannot be allowed to grow anymore. Wait, where is Bai Zhanlai? Bai Lian suddenly asked. Fang Yuan walked out of the battle stage, as numerous people gave way to him. Numerous gazes landed on him, there were fear and respect, indifference and animosity. Although I killed many Gu masters, my reputation is not bad. Every time I give Li Ran primeval stones, it is a performance that improves my reputation. Out of the 200,000, only 30,000 remain. Fang Yuan walked as he considered his options. After battling Li Hao, he earned 3 Gu worms, but did not gain the mountain-back toad or the position swap Gu. He beat the mountain-back toad to death, and the position swap Gu is Li Hao's vital Gu, it perished after Li Hao died. But that battle had many spectators, Fang Yuan earned over 6,000 primeval stones. This month, his consecutive victories earned him enough to return 40,000 to Li Ran and still save a small sum of primeval stones for himself. Because of his actions, and Li Ran's response, Wu clan did not do anything to Fang Yuan for now. This earned him precious time for development. I have 29 victories now, just one more and I'd be in 4th inner city. The pressure there is much higher, with experts everywhere, but wins also give me much more reward. After using the steel tendon Gu, I can increase the number of my beast phantoms already, but To increase the number of beast phantoms, it is a long process, there will only be effect after 2 to 3 months. After getting to 4th Inner City, Fang Yuan's pressure would be greater, he needed more strength to deal with the situation. A large-size auction will be held soon, and there is an instant success Gu up for bidding. If I can get it, I would be able to obtain new beast phantoms overnight, but my primeval stones are too few, I don't even have the qualification to participate in the auction. Money is always insufficient when one needs to use it. Just as Fang Yuan was considering who to borrow from, a young man appeared and blocked his path. Guyu Fangzheng, do you recognize me? Bai Zhanlai screamed. Zhanlai. Zhanlai, don't be rash. Bai clan and gang arrived, forming a semicircle around Fang Yuan. A standoff. Chapter 294, Crimes Have to be Punished. Fang Yuan slightly furrowed his eyebrows and lightly glanced at the group. He had some impression of Bai Zhanlai, the #1 genius from Bai clan's younger generation, they had even drank together at one time. Bai Lian was even more familiar, she had accompanied him for some time, using honey trap on him. Unfortunately, how could beauty shake Fang Yuan's heart? The result was that Fang Yuan played her at her own game. Others such as Bai Feng, Tai Dao Ku and so on, Fang Yuan did not recognize them. Even so, Fang Yuan knew this group of people's origins and motives. This was the victim's family coming to visit. Justice has long arms, Guyu Fangzheng, you slaughtered my Bai clan's 2 young clan leaders, you will not escape justice even if you escape to Shang clan city. Bai Feng shouted. Fangzheng, the trap you buried killed my Tai clan's young master and clansman. This hatred is absolutely irreconcilable, I, Tai Dao Ku, will take your head. Tai Dao Ku's expression was flared up as he pointed at Fang Yuan's nose and roared. The disturbance here immediately attracted the attention of nearby passerbys. To go where the crowds were, it was human nature, more people began to pay attention. Oh, you are a Tai clansman. Strange. How could I have no idea what you are talking about if I killed your clansman? Fang Yuan sneered. Stop denying it. You have the charred thunder potato mother Gu, you dug the pitfalls with extremely sinister intentions. My Tai clan group stepped into your pitfall, the explosions blew up even their corpses. We have been chasing you all the way, who could it be besides you? Tai Dao Ku's eyes seemed to be almost shooting out flames, wishing he could immediately cut Fang Yuan into pieces. He. Fang Yuan was dazed for a moment before he started laughing, so it was like that, it seems I did the right thing by digging those pitfalls. Thank you for telling me this good news and making me happy. You. Tai Dao Ku opened his eyes wide, he was seething with anger, you admitted it. You actually admitted it. Good, very good, Fangzheng, you are dead meat. You dared to kill my Tai clan's young master, you have made an enemy out of Tai clan. So what? Fang Yuan shrugged his shoulders and sarcastically said, laughable, I dug those pitfalls to deal with the grass skirt monkeys. But you guys stepped on them, this can only be blamed on your Tai clansmen for not having eyes. Moreover, what crimes did I commit for you guys to tail after me? Courting your own death, he, it is good that they died, it is fabulous that they died. The surrounding people were dumbstruck. He provoked a Tai clansman so directly. Has Fangzheng gone crazy? Tai clan is also one of the lords of southern border and isn't any weaker than Shang clan. Tai clan has captured demonic Gu masters from everywhere and its famous demon suppression tower is the nemesis of the demonic path. Fangzheng actually killed a young master of this clan. He has the purple thorn token and knows he is safe. As long as he stays in Shang clan city, he would be a distinguished guest of Shang clan. Even if Tai clan leader came, Lord Shang Yanfei would need to protect him. If he didn't protect Fang Zheng and the news spread out, it would signify that Shang clan is afraid of Tai clan. He. The discussion of the surrounding people calmed down Daoist Gu, who was burning in anger. Fang Yuan possessed a purple thorn token and his cultivation was now rank 3, dealing with him was not as easy as before. Humph, Fang Zheng, don't think you are safe by hiding here. You want to rely on the battle stage to become Shang clan's external elder? In your dreams. I will tell you, as long as I Bai Feng am here, you will never be able to dominate the battle stage. Elder Bai Feng said in a gloomy tone. Daoist Gu followed immediately, Fang Zheng, I will deal with you in the battle stage. There is no escape for you, the huge crime you have committed must receive severe punishment. Oh, you guys want to stop me in the battle stage? Fang Yuan's eyes flashed with a trace of cold light. He was not afraid of these people, even though Bai Feng, Daoist Gu, Bai Zhanlai and Bai Lian were all rank 3 Gu masters. If they were going to deal with him through the battle stage, they could not display their superiority in numbers. It is just that my current situation. Fang Yuan mumbled inwardly, then suddenly chuckled and said to Bai Feng, your Bai clan obtained Bai Gu inheritance but are still not satisfied and want to deal with me? Without me, how could you have obtained the inheritance? Humph, it seems you don't want to know the whereabouts of your 2 young clan leaders. The Bai clansmen immediately revealed astonished expressions. From Fang Yuan's tone, it seemed the 2 young clan leaders were not dead. Fang Zheng, what do you mean? Bai Feng immediately asked in bewilderment. Fang Zheng, don't try to deceive us with lies. We have searched almost everywhere in Bai Gu inheritance ground but haven't found even a trace of the 2 young clan leaders. Bai Lian coldly shouted. It was me who found the Bai Gu inheritance, does Bai clan think it has more understanding of the place than me? Ridiculous. Fang Yuan disdainfully scoffed and continued, why would I retreat while carrying those 2 burdens? Can't you think with your brains? Deceive you? Humph, I am not even afraid of Tai clan, why would I fear your puny Bai clan? Fang Zheng, if the 2 young clan leaders are still alive then this will just be a misunderstanding, our Bai clan is not an unreasonable clan. Bai Feng picked his words carefully to coax Fang Yuan into revealing the whereabouts of the 2 young clan leaders. You want to know? Fine. It just so happens that I am starving, how about you treat me to a meal? Let's go to 3rd Inner City's most famous Xianxia restaurant. Fang Yuan indifferently said. Bai clansmen looked at each other. The whereabouts of the 2 young clan leaders was extremely important since it affected the future of Bai clan. Despite Bai clan having extreme hatred towards Fang Yuan, Elder Bai Feng gritted his teeth and nodded, alright, let's go there. Xianxia restaurant was not just a simple restaurant, but was a luxurious brothel. This restaurant introduced women from foreign lands like Northern Plains, Eastern Seas and Western Desert. The women were all enchanting, with plump butt and large breasts. Another speciality of this restaurant was their lion meatball and was served on a human. Lion's meat, tiger's meat and all kinds of precious ingredients were made into meatballs and displayed on top of a beautiful woman in between her breasts. The name lion meatball held deep meanings. It was not only to eat the food, but also to eat human. The reason why Fang Yuan wanted to visit this place was not because he was interested in lion meatball, but because this restaurant had a strong background and contained many secret private rooms. Many Shang clansmen would often choose a private room for their private affairs, concealing their names and had no worries about news leaking. Fang Yuan chose a secret room and sat along with everyone. A feast was laid before them, the aroma of the dishes assailed their nostrils. However, they did not order the signature dish, lion meatball. Say it, where are our 2 young clan leaders? Bai Feng impatiently asked the moment he sat down. Before I tell you, I would like to ask this Tai Clan Gu master to stay outside for a moment. Fong Yuan gazed at Tai Dao Ku. Why? Tai Dao Ku's gaze was sharp as knife, as he ruthlessly cut off Fong Yuan. A bad feeling emerged in his mind. Because this is a private affair between me and Bai Clan. Fong Yuan's tone was unyielding. Besides me, everyone else should be Bai Clansmen, otherwise I guarantee I won't say a word. Bai Feng hesitated. The matter concerned the two young clan leaders, he had to be careful about it, thus he looked at Tai Dao Ku. Tai Dao Ku snorted and annoyedly left the secret room, closing the door shut. The sound produced in the secret room was isolated from the outside. Say it, where are the two young clan leaders? Don't even think of deceiving us. This is Shang Clan City, there are many Gu worms that can verify your words. Bai Feng sternly asked. Fong Yuan lifted a wine cup and sipped at it. Whereabouts? Of course, they are both dead. You guys are really naive. Since I made an enemy out of your Bai clan, I will naturally eliminate all threats. What? You dared to toy with us? Fong Zheng, you are courting death. The Bai clansmen stood up furiously, their flaming anger pressed on towards Fong Yuan. They were full fury but could not take any actions. This was not Bai clan's territory. Fong Yuan possessed a purple thorn token and also had impressive strength. They would definitely have to pay a catastrophic price to kill Fong Yuan. Most importantly, if they killed him like this, it was making an enemy out of Shang clan. Your Bai clan killed my Shang clan's esteemed guest in Shang Clan City, hee. Bai clan was now facing the crisis of their spirit spring drying up. They were in a precarious situation. Now, after obtaining the Bai Gu inheritance, many forces were eyeing it covetously. If they provoked a titan like Shang clan on top of that, the consequences would be too dire to imagine. Fong Yuan calmly sat on his seat. He raised his eyes and looked at everyone, then indifferently said. I actually admire you guys. Your Bai clan's spirit spring is drying up and are in deep trouble, yet you guys still have the mood for leisure and came chasing after me. Hee, you are really amazing. These words were like a bolt of lightning which fiercely struck their hearts, causing tides to surge in Elder Bai Feng's heart. He was horrified as he blurted out, this, how do you know this? This information was sealed off by Bai clan's higher-ups, even Bai Zhanlai and Bai Lian did not know it. But Fong Yuan laid bare the secret with one sentence. How could it not frighten Bai Feng? Of course it was from your noble clan's two young clan leaders. Before I killed them, they knelt and begged for forgiveness, trying to use this information to obtain my trust and exchange for their lives. Fong Yuan talked nonsense. Anyway, dead men tell no tales. Impossible. This information is only confined to clan leader and few elders. The two young clan leaders are young and ignorant, how could we let them know this? Bai Feng immediately retorted. Fong Yuan curled his lips. Maybe they heard it when they were playing around. After all, their mother is your clan leader. These are just minor details. Lord Clan Elder, is what he said about the spirit spring drying up true? How could this be, if the clan's spirit spring dries up? Bai Lian, Bai Zhanlai and others questioned one after another, their expressions worried and frightened. Spirit spring was the foundation of a clan, there was no need to mention its importance. If the clan lost the spirit spring, no matter how strong it would only be rootless weed. Bai Feng immediately came back to his senses by their questions and inwardly knew he had messed up. Maybe Fong Yuan was only guessing, the two young clan leaders were young, their credibility were not high. Bai Feng felt immense regret and wished he could give himself a tight slap. He was impatient and could not hide secrets. Otherwise, when he was young, he would not have been driven out of the clan by his father to force him to mold his character. These years, he had cultivated some shrewdness, but in the end, a leopard cannot change its spots. But honestly, he could not be blamed. Spirit Spring was too important, Bai Feng was carrying this burden in his heart. The pressure was accumulating like a volcano and burst out due to Fang Yuan's one sentence. Chapter 295, Actually, I was a victim too. Bai Feng's expression was gloomy and his gaze kept on flashing. He was thinking of denying this, but Fang Yuan saw through his plan. Don't even try to cover it, it's no use. As the spirit spring continues to dry up, the primeval stones produced will also decrease sharply. Bai Clan has been concealing it well, you have either used your remaining stock in the storage or traded to fill up this gap. But this will definitely leave traces, as long as someone carefully investigates it, they will find out. Fang Yuan was calm and comfortable. Bai Feng tightly clenched his fists, glaring at Fang Yuan like he wanted to swallow him alive. Looking at the appearance of this elder, even a stupid person would realize the truth. Our clan's spirit spring is drying. Bai Lian was dazed, leaning on her chair listlessly. Bai Zhanlai bit his lips, going silent. The others also did not speak, they were astonished and terrified. The atmosphere in the secret room turned extremely oppressive. He. Fang Yuan chuckled, your Bai clan is really in danger. Even a stronger clan will collapse if their spirit spring dries up and they don't find a new spirit spring. Now, you have obtained Bai Gu inheritance, the forces around you are all coveting it, tell me, what will happen if I spread this secret information? No. Bai Lian lost color in her face and immediately interjected. The others also thought of the seriousness of the matter and their expressions turned grave. Now, Bai Clan had obtained Bai Gu inheritance, their strength rose due to the benefits gained from Fang Yuan's discovery. The few neighboring large clans were staring at them covetously, but also held their guard. If the news of the spirit spring drying up was exposed, Bai Clan would lose their deterrence and become a paper tiger, the surrounding forces were sure to make their move. Those forces would never want to see Bai Clan survive this ordeal and because of the Bai Gu inheritance, rise in power and suppress them. Hence, this information had to be guarded. Bai Clan's gang were startled awake by Fang Yuan, gaining some understanding of the situation. Bai Zhanlai and others fixed their gazes at Fang Yuan, their eyes shining even more fiercely and emitted killing intent. Want to kill me? Fang Yuan sneered and shook his finger, since I am meeting with you alone, I have naturally made thorough preparations. In truth, if you hadn't come to find me, I would have gone to find you. These were not senseless words. The Bai clansmen had no choice but to restrain their killing intent and retract the ominous glint in their eyes. Alright, let's get down to business now. The corner of Fang Yuan's lips slightly curled up as he adjusted his sitting posture. He pointed his hands down and said, take a seat and let's discuss it. Discuss what? What's there to talk about with you? Humph. Bai Feng's expression was gloomy, but despite saying so, he still sat down. The remaining clansmen hesitated for a while before sitting down. The tense situation immediately eased a little. Of course we are going to discuss the fees to keep me silent. Was it easy for me to lead you here? Wasting my time and energy, you should compensate me. Primeval stones, I want primeval stones. Give me 3 million primeval stones and I can promise you I won't reveal this information. The Bai clansmen immediately stood up again when they heard Fang Yuan. You dare to threaten us? You killed our 2 young clan leaders, and dare to demand primeval stones. Fang Zheng, don't go too far. At worst, I will stake my old life and take you down with me. The group roared and growled in anger. Ha ha ha. Fang Yuan threw his head back and laughed. He then stood up and a cold light blossomed in his dark eyes as he looked at the group. That's right, I am threatening you. You don't agree? Then I will simply leak this information. What did you say, you want to die together with me? Humph, even if I die, this information will be leaked to the world. At that time, you will become the sinners of the clan, because you didn't agree to my request, your clan will be besieged by the surrounding forces. You. Elder Bai Feng was angered to his limit as he speechlessly pointed at Fang Yuan. The other clansmen also glared at Fang Yuan with furious eyes while gritting their teeth, but no one moved. You what? Fang Yuan sneered at Bai Feng, his tone full of disdain. What can you do to me? Kill me? I have a purple thorn token, do you dare to try it? I know you are all courageous, not afraid of death. But your clan is the most important. If your family and friends die, it will be all because of you. The Bai clansmen clenched their fists, standing stunned on the spot. Ah! Bai Zhanlai suddenly raised his head and shouted, he then lifted his fist and smashed it down. Due to his furious punch, the whole banquet table was smashed and the dishes crashed to the ground. He felt deep hatred. His grandfather Bai Zhanwen had died because of Fang and Bai. This hatred was irreconcilable. Because of this, he joined the pursuit group, constantly running about, now that he finally found the killer. The enemy was clearly in front of him, but he could not do anything. Fang Yuan was clearly within his reach, but he could not exact revenge. Not only could he not exact revenge, he still had to endure Fang Yuan's threat. His chest burned with anger, an anger that threatened to burn the sky and was already burning his heart. But he could not move, he did not dare to imagine the consequences if he moved. His life was a minor thing, but the whole clan might face a calamity because of him. No need to get angry. Actually, in this whole event, I was also a victim. Fang Yuan's tone relaxed and said with a sigh. Just think of it, Bai Gu inheritance was originally mine, but your Bai clan stole it from me. Your Bai clan chased after me and Bai Ningbing, we were forced to kill Bai Hua and Bai Sheng to make it easier to escape. Later, I suffered serious injuries and landed on Ziyu Mountain, having close encounter with death all along the way. Do you think it was easy for me? Your Bai clan's power is huge and I can't afford to offend it. I could only curl up in Shang Clan City, but you still won't let me go. Tell me, what should I do? I am not someone who is unreasonable, 3 million primeval stones, that is the lowest I will go. I am very sincere, I have told this secret to only a few people and haven't spread it outside. I also intentionally sent the Thai clansmen outside in consideration for your Bai clan. Fang Yuan's expression was very sincere. 3 million primeval stones, you are demanding an exorbitant price. Fang Zheng, let's be fair, how did our Bai clan treat you? We treated you nicely with food and accommodation, but what came out of it? You repaid our kindness with enmity. Our clan's 2 young clan leaders died in your hands, Elder Bai Zhanwen also died because of you. Many of our expert clansmen also died or got seriously handicapped while protecting you on your travels around Bai Gu Mountain. The Bai clan's group all had different expressions, some were extremely angry, some were sneering and some were crying, but they all had a similarity, their deep hatred towards Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan's expression changed, he gave a cold smile. It seems you are still not aware of the situation. I tried to give you face, but you don't want it? Very well. Fang Yuan stood up and turned to leave. Bai clansmen immediately fell into panic. Wait a moment. Bai Feng was desperate as he sidestepped and blocked Fang Yuan. I will tell you honestly, I am going to go sell this information now. I believe Shang Clan's Feng Yu Manor will give a good price for it. Can you guess how much they are going to pay me? Fang Yuan smiled sinisterly. Fang Zheng, don't go too far. Bai Zhanlai roared and quickly walked towards Fang Yuan and stared at him dead on. Fang Yuan nonchalantly said, "You want to attack me? You want to put your clan in danger?" Bai Zhanlai's inner fire was stumped, as he stood stunned. Slap! Fang Yuan took this chance and slapped. He was very strong and with just a little strength, he sent the energetic Bai Zhanlai retreating 5 to 6 steps. "What do you think you are doing?" Bai clansmen immediately flared up and surrounded Fang Yuan. "Do you all want to become the sinners of your clan?" Fang Yuan snorted, his words were like ice, dousing the Bai clansmen's surging anger. "You unappreciative scum." Fang Yuan pointed at Bai Zhanlai, "If I don't teach you a lesson, do you really think you are the heavenly emperor?" Fang Yuan showed no restraint in berating Bai Zhanlai in front of the Bai clansmen. He next looked at everyone, "You are all idiots. If I wanted Bai clan to face a calamity, it just takes one sentence from me. A wise man succumbs to circumstances, you still can't see the situation clearly. Make a move if you want. Come, even if I die, having your Bai clan accompany me in death won't be so bad." Fang Yuan was completely surrounded, but his attitude was still unbridled. Instead it was Bai clansmen, who were bigger in numbers, that had to give in while gritting their teeth and clenching their fists. Bai Zhanlai held his swollen face, his eyes bloodshot. This humiliation almost caused the anger in his heart to burst up to the 9 heavens. The veins in his forehead bulged out as he tried his best to maintain the final sliver of reason left in his mind. The clan was their weak spot. Fang Yuan targeted this and also showed an attitude that was unafraid of death, causing Bai clan fall into a hopeless situation where they could only tolerate Fang Yuan. "I will give you 30 breaths of time to consider." Fang Yuan continued. The group of Bai clansmen immediately fell into a struggle. They did not want to lower their heads to Fang Yuan, this murderer. However, if they did not lower their heads, their clan would be in danger. They were at a loss and all of them looked towards Elder Bai Feng. Bai Feng's clenched fists slowly loosened before he again clenched them and unclenched after a while. This continued again and again, showing the struggle in his heart. 30 breaths of time passed by, but Fang Yuan looked like he had forgotten it. Bai Feng was impatient, but he only opened his mouth after 5 minutes, breaking the silence. 3 million, is too much. We can't agree to this. Moreover, we don't have that much money on us. His voice was hoarse like a guy who was about to die of thirst in desert. He listlessly loosened his hands, having no more strength to clench them again. For the clan, he had no choice but to give priority to the overall situation. Despite wishing he could cut Fang Yuan into pieces, he chose to lower his head for the moment. The other Bai clansmen also felt their hearts relieved after hearing his words. Their killing intent towards Fang Yuan sank into the shadows, becoming thicker and deeper. Fang Yuan laughed, "The 3 million does not need to be paid in full, just take it slowly, for now hand over 500,000. 500,000? Why would we carry so many primeval stones with us?" Bai Feng refuted. Fang Yuan's brows raised, "You can borrow from loan sharks, pawn your belongings or even sell goo worms. No matter what you do, I need 500,000 primeval stones within a day. Moreover, I do not want to see any of Bai clan's people staying in Shang clan city." Chapter 296, Auction. What are they doing inside? It has already been over an hour. Outside the secret room, Daoist Gu was standing with his arms crossed, the doubt in his heart increasing with time. The secret room isolated sound, but it was not firm. In the case where a fight broke out, he would be able to immediately sense it. The problem, however, was that it had been calm and quiet since the start, making Daoist Gu unable to figure it out. Creak. Just as he was thinking this, the door opened from the inside. "Brother Dao Ku, please come inside, we have finished our talk," a Gu master of Bai clan informed. Tai Dao Ku entered the secret room. The first thing he saw was the table smashed by Bai Zhanlai and all kinds of dishes scattered on the ground. Tai Dao Ku could not help but raise his brows. Clearly, this feast could not be enjoyed anymore. Even if it could, the Bai clansmen present there did not have any appetite. Their faces were ashen and their expressions sluggish as if they had suffered heavy injuries. Only Fong Yuan's complexion was normal and even looked healthier than normal. Just now, he had reached an agreement with the Bai clansmen and everything was settled by using poison Vao Gu on the spot. What happened? Tai Dao Ku was bewildered. "I will leave first, take care." Fong Yuan left these words and walked out of the secret room. "Fong Zheng, just wait for me at the battle stage." Tai Dao Ku growled. Fong Yuan ignored him and walked away, disappearing from everyone's sights. What exactly happened here? Tai Dao Ku was very puzzled. How could talking for a while make all these Bai clansmen's expression change? He could not feel any flames of hatred in them. Sigh. Bai Feng heaved a deep sigh. He raised his head and looked at Tai Dao Ku, his gaze complex. "Brother Tai, something happened and it is not convenient for me to speak of it. We are withdrawing, we cannot go against Fong and Bai anymore." "What?" Tai Dao Ku cried out involuntarily, revealing an incredulous expression. "Our Bai clan has little assets, we cannot afford to take risks. Take care." Bai Feng stood up and walked straight out of the secret room. "You don't have to be worried, he is relying on Shang clan, but isn't my Tai clan also one of the lords of the southern border?" Tai Dao Ku hurriedly tried to persuade them. To deal against Fong and Bai, it was better with more people. If Bai clan left, he would be all alone. However, how could he know the situation behind this? His persuasion was of no use. Bai clan was bent on leaving and he was not able to stop them anymore. Looking at the image of the Bai clansmen leaving, Tai Dao Ku's expression turned extremely cold and mumbled to himself, "The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Fong Zheng, you made a good move. But don't think I, Tai Dao Ku, will give up just like this." Humph. His will was firm, others might have given up, but he still chose to persist. He decided to register his name at the battle zone right away. He would hunt Fong Yuan in the battle stage. "Sir, please stop." A waiter ran over and politely stopped Tai Dao Ku with a smile on his face. "You haven't paid the bill." "What? 500,000 primeval stones, how can we prepare such a large sum of money within a day?" Walking on the spacious street, Bai Lian voiced out her worries. "With my identity as an elder of Bai clan, I can go to the loan sharks to borrow 300,000. As for the remaining 200,000, I will have to pawn Small Tornado." Bai Feng understood the situation. The other Bai clansmen were moved. Bai Zhanlai cried out, "Lord Elder, Small Tornado Gu is your core Gu, are you really going to pawn it?" Bai Feng let out a bitter smile. "Even with Elder pawning Small Tornado Gu, it won't be enough to get 200,000. Add in my Lotus Cloth Gu." Bai Lian pursed her lips. With this, the remaining Bai clansmen also understood. "Pawn my Fountain Thoughts Gu as well. My Little Wind Drill Gu as well. I will contribute my Three-Forked Bone Spear." Bai Feng slowly nodded. "You all have the spirit of sacrificing for the clan, there is no worry that Bai clan won't flourish. Today's disgrace will be paid 1,000 times over in future. But now, we still need to think of the clan. I decided on this, so I will take all the responsibility for this matter once we return to the clan." Lord Elder. The group was stunned. They could not take their revenge and had to instead sign a disgraceful and unfair treaty. Although it was the best choice, there would definitely be heavy pressure and criticism when they returned to the clan. Political struggles existed everywhere. However, Bai Feng was going to bear the responsibility for the whole affair. No doubt he was protecting the political prospects of Bai Lian, Bai Zhanlai and the others. Bai Feng revealed an affectionate smile and sighed, "No need to say anything, I am already old, the clan's future lies on your shoulder. How could we gain anything without giving and sacrificing? It is because of countless people sacrificing and enduring humiliation, that the clan is able to thrive, and preserve the smile of our family members." Yes. Bai Lian, Bai Zhanlai and others nodded, realization dawned on their minds. Their ashen expressions gradually disappeared and were replaced with a gaze that was glowing brighter and brighter. 3 days later, in a large-scale auction. Ladies and gentlemen, you are looking at a frost breath gu. Rank 3 gu worm, able to breathe out cold air which has the effect of inflicting frostbites and slowing your opponents. Frost breath gu's biggest advantage is that every activation only consumes 5% of light snow primeval essence. The starting bid is 23,000 primeval stones. On a round platform, the hosting gu master was speaking through sound amplify gu. 25,000. 28,000. 30,000. After a round of intense bidding, the frost breath gu was sold for 38,000 primeval stones. Fang Yuan calmly looked down at the circular stage from his seat. He was sitting in a private room at the auction, others could not see him. This was the benefit of having a purple thorn token. In small-scale auctions, he could use the purple thorn token to buy auctioned goods in advance. He was not able to do that for the large-scale auctions. Please take a look, this is a flame heart gu. Its shape is like a miniature volcano. After refining it, it resides in the heart of the gu master. As everyone knows, its ability is to strengthen fire-type gu worms' attacks. Rank 3 Flame Heart Gu, starting bid of 30,000 primeval stones. The hosting gu master shouted loudly from the platform. He had just finished speaking, when someone immediately made a bid, 35,000. The first bid immediately raised the bid by 5,000 primeval stones, showing a clear assertiveness. But this could not stop interested parties. 36,000. 38,000. 40,000. The price finally stopped at 42,000. Looks like these people are quite rational. This is a reasonable price. Fang Yuan watched this from the private room, evaluating the situation. Shang Clan City frequently traded, this type of large-scale auctions were held at fixed intervals. The gu masters living in Shang Clan City were all used to it and were smart when bidding in auctions. No one was foolish. Of course, there were occasional extravagant participants. Fang Yuan had observed for a long while, today's auction did not seem to have such a person. This was his luck and also others' luck. If there had been such a person, Fang Yuan would have to start bidding and empty out these people's capital early. This type of battle of wits and contest of force was child's play to Fang Yuan. All the gu showed in the large-scale auctions were rare and precious. All of them were rank 3 or above, there was almost none below rank 3. Besides the gu worms, there were also rare gu food, rare gu refinement materials, gu refinement recipe, information about some inheritances, perfect-looking gambling rocks. There were also female slaves, male slaves, captured beast kings and so on. Frost breath gu and flame heart gu were sold for about 30 to 40,000, this price could only be considered to be low compared to other auction goods. Soon, Fang Yuan saw a rank 4 grass tree army gu being sold for 250,000 primeval stones. Grass Tree Army Gu could turn every plant and tree within a certain range of the Gu Master into an offensive method. In the terrains of southern border, it was an absolute killing weapon. Ordinary rank 4 Gu could cost up to 100,000 primeval stones. Grass Tree Army Gu's price already reached the price of an ordinary rank 5 Gu. Fang Yuan carried 500,000 on him right now, but at this auction, it really was not much and could only buy 2 Grass Tree Army Gu. Instant Success Gu was a rank 4 rare Gu. After a bidding competition, Fang Yuan successfully bought it with over 180,000 primeval stones. Next, he spent a total of 83,000 primeval stones to buy a white silver relic Gu and a golden shield Gu. He did not make any bids after that. Primeval stones could not be spent recklessly and should be spent in useful areas. Currently, all-out effort Gu was his core. He also had self-reliance Gu. He lacked a bitter strength Gu. This Gu was not cheap, moreover it was extremely rare, rarely seen even at Xianxia City. Why? Because the fusion success rate was extremely low, so there were only a small number of people who used it. Gu Worm's transactions also depended on the supply and demand of the market. With low demand and high production costs, the supply would naturally be low. If I can't buy bitter strength Gu, then I can only try refining it myself. It is just that its success rate really causes a headache. I got the white silver relic Gu, but there is no hurry to use it. If I was cultivating alone, it would be better if I used it earlier, but now that I have Bai Ning Bing to rely on, I will leave the white silver relic Gu to use for later. I have used over 270,000 primeval stones today, now just over 220,000 remains. I will accumulate them for the super-sized auction held every 2 years in Xianxia City. Li Ran told me that Bai Clan's group has indeed left Xianxia City. Although I extorted 3 million out of them, I can't underestimate this clan. Suffering in silence with the mentality of sacrificing, no wonder they rose to power abruptly in my previous life. Right now, they are using the excuse of exploring Bai Gu inheritance to recklessly search for the spirit spring in Bai Gu Mountain. The progress is a lot faster than in my previous life. I have no choice but to be vigilant against them. Bai Clan has already chased me to here. Would Tai Clan be far off? Tai Clan, Demon Suppression Tower. As for that Tai Dao Ku, he is of no worry for the moment. Just as Fang Yuan was making future plans, at the entrance of Xianxia restaurant, 18 foreign girls stood in 2 rows, laughing and chatting with each other. They wore revealing clothes and the fragrance of their makeup filled the air. They had plump breasts and looked sultry. They had no need to solicit customers, just standing there was the best signboard, attracting countless male Gu masters to loiter around and enter. With a grim face, Tai Dao Ku was standing at the side with several other Gu masters, guarding the entrance. Humiliating. The shame in his heart had reached its limits. To think that Xianxia restaurant's banquet was so expensive, without any money to pay for it, he could only work to write off his debt. Look at what a Grand Tai Clan's Gu master has fallen to. I am actually forced to do this type of thing. The restaurant has background and doesn't care that I am a Tai clansman. Sigh. I hope no one sees me, absolutely no acquaintances. Tai Dao Ku prayed desperately. Isn't this brother Tai Dao Ku? What are you doing here? A voice arrived. Tai Dao Ku was immediately stunned. A familiar person. Familiar person. Fang Zheng, just wait. Veins bulged out of Tai Dao Ku's forehead as he roared furiously in his heart. Chapter 297, Instant Success Gu. Cloud Gu. In the secret room, Fang Yuan sat on the cushion, muttering as he pointed his finger forward. Suddenly, a Gu came out of his aperture like a flash of light. The moment it appeared, it lightly exploded, turning into a dark black cloud. This cloud sank quickly, as it circulated within itself. In the blink of an eye, it landed on the ground, and placed Fang Yuan above the cloud layer. Fang Yuan sat on the black cloud. It was softer than the cushion, but slightly colder. He was not surprised, stretching out his index finger and pointing to the air. Yang Cloud Gu. A white light tore through the air as it exploded into pure white mist. Once the white cloud appeared, it wanted to rise, but sensed the black cloud below Fang Yuan. The two cloud layers had a formless attraction to each other, as the black and white clouds continued to roll internally, looking after one another. One was below Fang Yuan, while the other was above his head. The gloomy cloud was like ink, while the bright cloud was like foam. As the two converged, lightning appeared. Traces of blue lightning quickly flashed between these two clouds. Initially, there was one or two traces, but they soon multiplied, growing in numbers. In a few breaths' time, they formed into a field of lightning. Fang Yuan had already activated the canopy Gu, his body covered in a white armor. At the same time, he activated the all-out effort Gu as he casually stretched out his arm, and a wild boar phantom appeared behind him, becoming a giant boar image in the air. Crack crack. Once the boar phantom appeared, the lightning bolts acted like sharks attracted to blood, shooting towards it. In an instant, the boar phantom was forcefully suppressed, shrinking to the size of a stone mill. Lightning circulated in its body, like deep blue chains that trapped it. The rest of the lightning hit Fang Yuan's body, but was blocked by the white armor. Fang Yuan recalled the all-out effort Gu, but this boar phantom did not vanish. Like a caged bird, trapped firmly. Under the constant attack of the lightning cage, the boar phantom started to show signs of disappearing. Lightning, combining destruction and purification into one. After a thunderstorm, new life grows. The power of lightning specialized in destruction, and contained the destruction law fragment. At this point, Fang Yuan was using the yin-yang dual cloud Gu to gather lightning and remove one of his wild boar strength. It had been 3 days since that auction. Although the yin-yang dual cloud Gu was rank 3, it was an ordinary Gu bought in the shop. Other than this, he also bought some material, and after failing once, he refined the eating one's words Gu and removed the poison vow Gu on him. Fang Yuan had once used the black and white boar Gu on Qing Mao Mountain, to gain the strength of 2 boars. The rank 3 all-out effort Gu can only summon one beast phantom at a time. After it reaches rank 4, there are stronger beast phantoms available. Thus, the strength of 2 boars would be redundant and repetitive. Now that Fang Yuan had excess money, he decided to optimize his body. To get rid of this boar phantom, it would take some time, at least 19 days. The cooperation of the yin-yang dual cloud Gu to summon lightning was the most common and cheap method. Beast phantoms are the law fragments lurking in a person's body. To get rid of them, it would take some effort. Fang Yuan carefully used the yin cloud Gu and yang cloud Gu, as both clouds moved rapidly, like 2 thick carpets filling the entire secret room. One white cloud covered the ceiling. One black cloud covered the floor. In the middle, lightning struck. Bolts of blue lightning connected the 2 clouds and trapped the boar phantom as it slowly disintegrated. A soft crack crack sound, different from loud thunder, could be heard continuously. To get rid of this boar phantom, it would take a while, but now Fang Yuan called out another Gu. This Gu was like a dragonfly, 3 pairs of wings, palm size. It had 4 colors that shone brilliantly: jade green, sapphire blue, gold and bright red. This was the instant success Gu, its body containing the Tao mark of time. As the name suggests, it can speed up the flow of time. It was a rank 4 consumable Gu. Fang Yuan split his mind into 3, controlling the yin-yang dual cloud Gu, activating his primeval essence, and injecting them into the instant success Gu. His primeval C level fell drastically, 80, 70, 60%. Instant success Gu was a rank 4 Gu, with his rank 3 initial stage cultivation. It was tough for Fang Yuan to activate it. When his light silver primeval essence fell to 30%, Fang Yuan halted his primeval essence usage, and the heavenly essence treasure lotus slowly opened up, as natural essence gushed out from it, instantly infected by Fang Yuan's aura and becoming his light silver primeval essence. His primeval C level started to rise, 40, 50, 60%. Rinse and repeat. After his primeval C level fell and rose several times, the instant success Gu was finally full, and once activated, it gave off a dazzling light show. This colorful display of lights shone on the yin-yang dual cloud Gu and the beast phantom, dyeing the secret room with a rainbow color. The boar phantom's disintegration accelerated. Originally, the speed of disintegration was almost unnoticeable by the naked eye. But now, like a snowball rolling down a mountain, the speed increased drastically. After more than 10 breaths' time, the wild boar phantom was completely destroyed. After confirming it, Fang Yuan quickly stopped using the instant success Gu, and kept his yin-yang dual cloud Gu. He could return the yin-yang dual cloud Gu back to the shop, with the purple thorn token. As long as it is within 3 days, Fang Yuan can return the Gu and get back the same amount he paid. It was safer than borrowing a Gu from people, and he would not make any loss. If he borrowed a Gu, the initiative is in their hands. With just a thought, they can take back the Gu in an instant. There would be nothing Fang Yuan could do. As for the instant success Gu, after the lights were dimmed as much as possible, its 3 pair of wings only had 2 left, and its entire body was slowly vanishing. Once this Gu was used, it could not be stopped. The lights will continue to shine and accelerate time accordingly. Fang Yuan reducing the light intensity would only prolong its remaining time. Again, Fang Yuan made use of his remaining time. Next, he activated the galloping horse strength Gu. This Gu was rank 3, able to modify a Gu master's body and form a horse strength phantom for him. Under the influence of the galloping horse strength Gu, Fang Yuan's body felt numb as the fragment of the strength law started to reside in his body. This process would last 2 to 3 months normally. It was time-consuming. But now, Fang Yuan still had the instant success Gu. He breathed in deeply, releasing the restraints on the instant success Gu, and a dazzling light shone on him immediately. The numb feeling intensified at once. The 2 to 3 months of torture assaulted him, turning into a painful numb feeling. Fang Yuan gritted his teeth. After 5 minutes, his body was drenched in sweat. But the horse strength phantom had successfully taken root in his body. After removing the strength of a boar, he added the strength of a horse. The instant success Gu's light dimmed again. It had lost another wing in this process. It only had 1 pair of wings plus another half a piece. But Fang Yuan paid a much greater price. Instant success Gu had a great drawback, that is, in this short period, he lost 3 months of lifespan. Again, Fang Yuan wiped away his sweat, ignoring the intense pain in his body, and used the Gu again. He had to make the best of his time. While the instant success Gu was still around, he had to make the best out of it. Green Bull Labor Gu. The dazzling light shone on his body again. Fang Yuan gritted his teeth, his eyebrows squeezing tightly, as his pain was even greater than earlier, like giant waves crashing on the shore. It was 5 minutes again, but this time, it was much harder to endure. Finally, through Fang Yuan's determination, he endured through this period. His body gained the strength of a bull. The instant success Gu now had 2 wings left, both tattered and torn. Its entire dragonfly body was turning translucent, like a hologram floating in the air. Fang Yuan felt an intense headache, his ears were buzzing and his heart was beating quickly. Barely any time left. He breathed in deeply, forcing himself to focus, as he activated the stone turtle strength Gu. But this time, the process only lasted half the time before the lights dimmed, and vanished, as the instant success Gu's time was used up. The secret room fell into complete darkness after the lights vanished. The primeval sea was left with less than 30% of primeval essence, but under the help of the heavenly essence treasure lotus, it started to rise slowly. Heavenly essence treasure lotus was a rank 3 Gu, it was a very strong assistance to the recovering of Fang Yuan's primeval essence. Fang Yuan breathed out deeply, feeling fatigue assault him, almost draining his entire body. Although he was seated on the cushion, his body was swaying, and he had difficulty sitting. Activating this instant success took half a year's lifespan from him. It was a heavy price, but he managed to remove the boar phantom, and gain the strength of a bull, horse, and half a turtle. Thankfully, he was still young, he had enough lifespan to spare. Fang Yuan's battle strength rose sharply. A day later, on the battle stage, Fang Yuan had his 30th match. Ding! The bell announced the start of the battle. I admit defeat. His opponent shouted, ending the battle. Thus, Fang Yuan obtained his 30th victory. In 5th Inner City, he had 30 consecutive battles, 30 net wins, and rose to 4th Inner City. No one was surprised by this result. The Gu masters in 5th Inner City battle stage saw him leave and sighed in relief. Will return this sum of money to you. Tai Dao Ku said with a serious expression, his attitude extremely firm. Just a small matter, don't mind it. Brother Tai, what plans do you have now? His friend smiled. Tai Dao Ku showed a determined expression, Gu Fangzheng is my target, I will not stop until I arrest him. I am going to participate in the Shang clan battle stage. After saying bye to his friend, Tai Dao Ku came to the battle zone alone, but heard a nightmare. What? Fangzheng went to 4th Inner City. Damn it! Tai Dao Ku clenched his fist, indignant. Fangzheng, do you think you can escape? Humph, if you went to 4th Inner City, so will I. Not mentioning 3rd Inner City, but do you think 5th Inner City can stop me? I have to hurry, I shall have my first match today. I refined the ice crystal Gu as my vital Gu. Coupled with the vitality Gu to prevent the backlash from the energy of the ice crystal, this way, my core is completed. For close range, I have Ice Edge Gu, and for long range, should I use Snowball Gu or Icicle Gu? Bai Ningbing thought along the way as she walked to the battle stage. It's you. Tai Dao Ku saw Bai Ningbing walk onto the stage, and was stunned before cheering, great. Heaven has eyes, for me to encounter you on the first match. Bai Ningbing heard this, and raised her beautiful jewel-like blue eyes, and spoke in her usual cold tone, who are you? Chapter 298, Bai Ningbing vs Tai Dao Ku. Honestly speaking, Bai Ningbing did not know who Tai Dao Ku was. When Fang and Bai left Qing Mao Mountain, Tai Dao Ku and gang were constantly lagging behind them. Even during Bai Gu Mountain inheritance, the eventual battle did not involve Tai Dao Ku, nor did Fang and Bai meet him. Only until a while ago, when Tai Dao Ku and Bai clan came to Shang clan city, did he see Fang Yuan in person for the first time. But after that, Fang Yuan lured them to Shi restaurant, and after a conversation, Bai clan took out all they had and ran away after giving him 500,000, leaving Tai Dao Ku behind, arrested by Shizi restaurant and forced to be a guard outside the door. Bai Ningbing did not know of his existence. But Tai Dao Ku recognized Bai Ningbing. From the Bai clan arrest warrant, he had already engraved their appearances deep into his heart. Now that he saw Bai Ningbing, he was exhilarated. Heaven is kind to me, heaven has eyes, giving me a chance to take revenge so quickly. But after his exhilaration, came intense rage. Bai Ningbing's "Who are you?" triggered the rage, hatred, humiliation, grievance in Tai Dao Ku, pouring out of a volcano like molten lava. You murderer, killing my young master, causing me to nearly die, and caused me to be forced into being a guard for a brothel, causing me to be seen by a friend, and losing my reputation. These were all caused by you, you culprit, and you don't know who I am. Ah! Tai Dao Ku screamed in fury, his neck turning red from shouting, as intense killing intent burst out of his body. Ding! The battle started, and Tai Dao Ku did not hesitate, charging towards Bai Ningbing. Feeling her enemy's intense killing intent, Bai Ningbing squinted as she snorted coldly, rushing towards him as well. The two got closer rapidly, almost instantly appearing before each other. Iron Hand Gu. Hand Blade Gu. At once, Tai Dao Ku's hands became iron, and the edges of his palms became sharp blades. Ice Edge Gu. Bai Ningbing placed her palms together, and split them apart, instantly forming a blade of pure ice. Clang! A crisp sound, and the iron hand blade collided with the frosty ice blade. The two crossed swords, and as they traveled 5 to 6 steps, Bai Ningbing twisted her waist and flicked her wrist, 3 icicles flew towards Tai Dao Ku's back. Tai Dao Ku growled, forcefully turning around his body and swinging his palms around, smashing the icicles into bits, then ferociously charging towards Bai Ningbing again. Bai Ningbing's gaze became serious. After that short exchange, she had understood that this was a fierce opponent. Very good, I can use him to assess the quality of my Gu set. Bai Ningbing's battle intent rose. She was not a monster like Fang Yuan. Without such a massive pool of experience, she could only trial and error on her own. Entering the battle stage, 1 was to earn primeval stones, and 2 was to develop her own unique set of Gu worms. Swift Shadow Gu. At this time, Tai Dao Ku's speed increased, leaving a trace of shadows behind him like a tail. His acceleration allowed him to reach Bai Ningbing in a moment. So fast. Bai Ningbing's pupils shrunk. Tai Dao Ku had already stretched out both arms, raising them high above his head, then splitting down, like an axe, chopping towards Bai Ningbing. Even before he hit his target, the wind already blew Bai Ningbing's silver hair into the air, as her face felt a chill. The arms were like 2 sharp blades expanding in Bai Ningbing's vision. Tai Dao Ku first used Iron Hand Gu, then used the Hand Blade Gu to cause the edges of his palm to become sharp as a blade. Not only this, the 2 sides of his forearm also became dull blades. Tai Dao Ku's attack was strong and heavy, with unparalleled sharpness, even a huge rock could be broken, not to mention a fragile human body. Even with her ice muscles jade bones, Bai Ningbing did not dare to take it head-on, forced to dodge. Bai Ningbing retreated as she guarded with her ice blade. Tai Dao Ku rotated his arms like a moving windmill, sending his hand blades slashing towards her. Clang clang clang. Ice blade and hand blade collided and continuously gave off a loud noise. Bai Ningbing created another ice blade, dual wielding, as she retreated and blocked Tai Dao Ku's furious assault. Ice Edge Gu was the advancement of the rank 2 Ice Blade Gu, it had a tougher body and sharper edge. But Dao Ku also used rank 3 Gu, using the combination of Iron Hand Gu and Hand Blade Gu, with the Hand Blade Gu was the core of his entire Gu set. At once, ice shards flew into the air, as the ice blade was filled with cracks. Dao Ku whipped up a steel blade tornado. He was older and more experienced than Bai Ningbing. With his anger unleashed, he attacked without rest, forcing Bai Ningbing to retreat over 100 steps. Dao Ku was picked by the Tai clan young master and acted as his right-hand man. He had to have some outstanding ability. If that Tai clan young master became the clan leader in the future, Dao Ku would be like Wei Yang, promoted to an elder in the clan. Bai Ningbing was fiercely suppressed. She was bound to lose if this continued. There were numerous cuts on her body as blood poured out. This cannot go on, Frost Breath Gu. Bai Ningbing activated her primeval essence, injecting them into her tongue. There was a 6-sided ice flower symbol on her tongue. It was the insignia of the Frost Breath Gu. Her cheeks puffed up as she exhaled a breath of icy wind. The light blue icy wind engulfed Dao Ku, causing his arms and half his chest to have a layer of frost. Coldness assaulted him, as Dao Ku shivered, like he was doused with a bucket of icy water in the hot summer weather, causing his attacks to slow down. Bai Ningbing quickly jumped back, pulling distance from Dao Ku. Dao Ku still wanted to get closer to her, but why would Bai Ningbing give him the opportunity? Icicle Gu. Snowball Gu. Many icicles and snowballs formed, shooting towards Dao Ku, attacking him like a torrent, as Dao Ku's assault was forcefully terminated. Bai Ningbing breathed out in relief. Dao Ku's momentum was broken, as she finally caught her breath. This person is obviously bad at long range and specializes in close range. But how could I lose in sword technique? Ice Crystal Gu. Bai Ningbing was arrogant and proud. Her silver hair fluttered as a fierce light shot out of her jewel-like blue eyes. The cuts earlier had already stopped bleeding. This was the effect of the ice muscles to stop bleeding. Ice Crystal Gu was Bai Ningbing's vital Gu. Once activated, the sound of water freezing could be heard all over Bai Ningbing's body. Her flesh and blood vanished, converted into a diamond-like crystal form. At a glance, she was like an ice sculpture. Her expression disappeared, her cold appearance became even more emotionless. Her eyes stopped blinking, and on the surface of her eyes, there was a thick layer of transparent frost. Her body grew slightly, her height increasing by 2 to 3 inches, and her entire aura had a dominating coldness. Dao Ku's ferocious attacks earlier gave her no time to activate the Ice Crystal Gu, but now she finally could. When Gu masters use Gu, they would have to multitask. Be it battles or refinement, this was so. Even the strong Fang Yuan could only do 3 things at once with no error. He could not split his mind into 4 for a long time, otherwise mistakes would occur. Earlier, Bai Ningbing had placed all her attention on Dao Ku's attacks. She concentrated extensively and could not think of anything else. If she activated her Ice Crystal Gu during that period, she would definitely be distracted and expose a weakness. If Dao Ku made use of it, the consequences would be severe. Making any changes would require attention. In contrast, doing the same thing only needed one thought. It is my turn now. She lightly shouted, taking huge steps and carried a cool killing intent, charging at Dao Ku. Clang clang clang. The two collided and unleashed their attacks. Fighting offense with offense. Bai Ningbing held her ice blades and waved them around, as Dao Ku used his arms as blades, more agile and flexible. In a few breaths' time, they had unleashed over 100 attacks. The white ice blade and the black steel hand blade struck lightning fast, almost turning into a blur black and white silhouette. The surrounding spectators were not many. Seeing this, they breathed in deeply and were shocked. Evenly matched. Bai Ningbing had turned into ice crystal, her body was made of hard ice. When Daoist Gu hit her, he could only make a small scar on the ice. In contrast, Daoist Gu had a very outstanding defensive Gu, causing him to turn into a black Iron Man. When the ice blades hit him, they create slashing marks. But gradually, Daoist Gu felt increasing pressure. Bai Ningbing had stopped defending, and concentrated on attacking, thus, her attacks became increasingly sharper. This person is improving so much amidst battle. She had such outstanding battle talent, she is using me as a practice dummy to refine her sword technique. Daoist Gu was stunned in his heart, he could feel Bai Ningbing's attacks, becoming more refined and precise under pressure, as their force increased. His inner thoughts caused his movements to slow, and finally, Bai Ningbing found her chance to strike. A chance. Bai Ningbing's eyes shone brilliantly, as her right hand slashed towards Daoist Gu's brain. Daoist Gu could not dodge in time, thus had to defend against it. He was very confident of his defense, every close-range Gu master would not have weak defenses, as long as his eyes stayed intact, there was no issue. But at this time, Bai Ningbing activated a Gu in her aperture. Ice Explosion Gu. Bam! The ice blade in Bai Ningbing's right hand exploded intensely. This change caught Daoist Gu off guard, as the force of the explosion tore through his defenses. He subconsciously closed his eyes, as an intense pain assaulted him. Oh no, it's a trap. Daoist Gu's heart sank, he had a rich battle experience, meticulous and courageous. Encountering this, he did not fluster but quickly used the swift Shadow Gu to move backwards. Bai Ningbing did not let go of such an opportunity, also activating her movement Gu and chased after him, hacking and slashing. Daoist Gu could hear her movements, with his experience and keen senses, he blocked most of Bai Ningbing's attacks. But Bai Ningbing held the upper hand. At this moment, there was little hope of Daoist Gu turning this around. As he retreated, he barely opened his eyes, finding his left eye blind and his right heavily injured, as his vision was dyed red. I admit defeat. He screamed his throat out. The battle has been decided, both sides stop now. The hosting Gu master quickly announced. Bai Ningbing laughed coldly, attacking more urgently. But suddenly, a huge invisible force pulled her and Daoist Gu apart. In Xianxia city battle stage, there were obviously defensive measures. As long as the hosting Gu master reacted in time and acts, there will hardly be any killings on purpose. Humph. Bai Ningbing showed displeasure, she felt this force holding on to her, not allowing her to move. She had to stop. Daoist Gu breathed roughly, removing his defense and quickly healing himself. He also had a healing Gu, but it could not heal his left eye, he could only stabilize his right eye's condition and try to preserve it. This scoundrel is truly shameless, I got tricked by her and almost died. Damn it. Too hateful. Daoist Gu still had some afterfear mixed with rage and hatred. Chapter 299, Shut up, you fat pig. This match is over. I have consumed 70% of my primeval essence, only 20% is left. After obtaining victory, Bai Ningbing left the battle stage. She summarized her battle learnings while walking. She would summarize every match she fought. The battle with Daoist Gu today, although she felt a pity that she was not able to kill him, her gains were quite great. The battle just now was intense but it lasted only a brief period. However, it expended a lot of my primeval essence, come to think about it I have a great aptitude primeval essence recovery speed. During an intense battle, my set of Gu worms clearly has high primeval essence consumption issues. Many Gu masters faced difficulties in this aspect and they organized their Gu worms. Who did not like powerful Gu worms? But often, those Gu worms with higher efficacy had higher consumption rates of primeval essence. Of course there were Gu worms who were powerful and consumed less primeval essence. But they were all rare Gu worms and were very expensive. Bai Ningbing had extra money on hand, but it was not a lot. She was smart and after quickly realizing her situation, she started saving money. Before, she would spend money like water and had no clear concept of the value of primeval stones. That was because the clan spent all their efforts in cultivating her. Now, she was in charge of her own money during in this period of time, her awareness had a significant transformation. While Fong Yuan was growing, Bai Ningbing too was improving rapidly in all aspects. It would be good if I had Fong Yuan's Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus. At least in rank 3 stage, there would be no need to worry about primeval essence expenditure. Bai Ningbing thought of this, inevitably having a feeling of jealousy. Fong Yuan walked the Strength Path. Strength Path Gu consumed the least primeval essence and with his 90% a great aptitude, he had an abundant source of primeval essence. Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus could not display its true value in his hands, it was simply casting pearls before a swine. What if I buy Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus from Fong Yuan? Bai Ningbing shook her head, quickly throwing away this impractical thought from her mind. She understood too well what kind of person Fong Yuan was. She had never seen him suffer a loss. If someday she was able to take Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus from his hands, then it would definitely be after she pays a heavy price. Without the help of the Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus, I can only reduce the Gu worms on me. After carefully thinking it, Bai Ningbing decided to give up on Snowball Gu. Snowball Gu was a high-tier Gu in rank 3 and she had planned to use it as a long-range attacking method. However, this Gu expended quite a bit of primeval essence. It was still okay if she only used it one time. But how could she only send out one snowball in the midst of intense battle? 5 to 6 snowballs after, her primeval essence consumption would amount to a lot. I will give up Snowball Gu and keep Icicle Gu. Icicle Gu might only be rank 2, but it can also restrict the opponent. It would be a threat if I use it with Ice Explosion Gu. Ice Explosion Gu was a rank 3 Gu which could detonate ice and form an instantaneous destructive power. The larger, older, and colder the ice, the greater the power of the explosion. She was able to establish her dominance in the battle against Tai Dao Ku because of this Ice Explosion Gu. Of course, if the ice explosion spread towards Bai Ningbing, she would also receive injuries. But if she turned her body into ice crystal, the severeness of injuries would fall to a low level. Thinking of the splendid battle just before, Bai Ningbing licked her lips in excitement. A normal Ice Path Gu master pursued defensive or trapping abilities. Only those like Fire Path Gu masters or Thunder Path Gu masters focused on explosive strength. However, Bai Ningbing did the very opposite. The inspiration for it was the Ice Explosion Gu and she had not expected the results to be so good, beyond her original estimation. Ice Explosion Gu is brilliant and very effective in battle, I will continue to make full use of it later. Bai Ningbing inwardly planned. She used to advocate a direct and straightforward fighting style, fierce and swift, slashing everything with her ice wind. However, she was influenced after being in contact with Fong Yuan all the time, and now was interested in making treacherous moves. She was interested in everything splendid in this world. Ice Crystal Gu, Ice Edge Gu, Icicle Gu, Ice Explosion Gu, can this set defeat Fong Yuan? Bai Ningbing considered this, considering Fong Yuan as her #1 imaginary enemy. Fong Yuan walks the strength path, he has all-out effort Gu and is much more domineering in close combat than that guy just before. With my current methods, it won't be easy to win against him. Unless I can regain my killer move. Bai Ningbing's killer move was her self-created Ice Blade Storm. She had created this using Revolving Gu paired with Whirlwind Gu and Ice Blade Gu, forming the Icy Tornado. But now Bai Ningbing's vision had widened, this move was already old-fashioned. Ice Blade Storm could bully rank 2, but would be substandard in rank 3 realm. These days, she had been thinking of ways to improve and polish her killer move, but was not able to get any ideas. She suddenly thought of something and her pace quickened. Oh right, today is Fang Yuan's first battle after advancing to 4th Inner City. It shouldn't be too late if I go see now. Kill him. Zhu Ba, finish this kid quick. The way I see it, Zhu Ba doesn't even need to make a move and this Fang Jing kid won't be able to bear it. This kid is in trouble. He ran into Zhu Ba who happens to subdue his strength path on his first match. The battle stage was lively and full of people. Fang Yuan's match has attracted many spectators. Well, the battle zone doesn't have any restriction regarding the spectators' cultivation. As long as the Gu master has money, he can come watch. Bai Ningbing arrived to the battle stage and looked around her before concentrating towards the stage. This was a mid-scale battle stage and the terrain was ordinary stone-tiled floor. Fang Yuan and a heavily built Gu master were fighting fiercely. According to the spectators' comments, Fang Yuan's opponent should be that Zhu Ba. Zhu Ba was huge, almost 3 meters tall. His whole body was full of fats, making his head and limbs look smaller. He was like an enlarged version of the Earth's sumo wrestlers. In this world, whether it was a Gu master or a mortal, their height normally did not cross 2 meters. Zhu Ba's height was clearly the result of using some Gu worm. This was quite normal in fact. Many flying-type Gu masters would make their bones hollow to reduce the weight. Some earth-burrowing Gu masters would use bone-shrinking Gu to turn into a dwarf. Like this, their energy consumption would be much lower when drilling a tunnel. Bai Ningbing did not have much knowledge about Zhu Ba, but from the continuous comments of the spectators around her, he understood Zhu Ba's methods. Zhu Ba was a defensive Gu master. The fats in his body provided him with a strong defense. Fang Yuan moved around Zhu Ba, punching and kicking him. When Zhu Ba received the strikes, the fat on his body shook like water ripples and dispersed the force of the attacks onto all parts of his body. Then with the use of a Gu, this force was gathered together and through a countershock method, it was returned back to Fang Yuan. According to sources, Zhu Ba received his Gu from a demonic inheritance. It was uncertain because he had never exposed the amount of Gu he had and their names. However, his method of fighting made people helpless, particularly effective against strength path Gu masters. Fang Zheng, take a rest, it is no use. I can send 80% of the force of your attacks back at you through countershock. Punches and kicks do nothing to me, instead you will be injured. Have you still not realized it? Zhu Ba spoke in a low muffled voice. He directly sat on the battle stage, letting Fang Yuan attack him, giving an immovable presence. Boar Phantom, Brown Bear Phantom and Crocodile Phantom constantly flashed above Fang Yuan. It was the reappearance of the scene when he viciously beat the mountain-back toad, but Zhu Ba was indifferent. No matter how much strength you used, the other did not even glance at you, who would not be discouraged by such a situation. However, Fang Yuan persevered and continued to move and attack Zhu Ba without saying a word. It had been like this since the match started and by now, 15 minutes had passed. Puff! Fang Yuan let out a breath of turbid air and suddenly took back a step, stopping his attacks. Blood seeped out from the corners of his lips, the countershock force from Zhu Ba jolted his organs, inflicting internal injuries on him. He had iron bones, steel tendons, Canopy Gu, and there was also Golden Shield Gu, but this shock passed through all his defense and attacked his internal organs. His internal organs were not strengthened at all, even though he was healing them with self-reliance Gu, the injuries were getting heavier. Fang Yuan stopped his offensive, the counter-shock force also dissipated. Several breaths later, his internal organs were completely healed. The offensive resumed. He took a strong step and began his attacks, his fists smashed like a meteor, bringing with it the sound of the wind. The fat Xin Zhu Ba shook once again, creating ripples and sending it back. Fang Zheng, you have a healing Gu, but so do I. You are suffering 80% of the attack, while I only receive 20% of the damage. Your consumption is more than mine, it is better to just admit defeat. Zhu Ba continued to persuade. Fang Yuan only attacked, without replying. When blood started seeping out again, he stopped the offensive and used self-reliance Gu to recover. Although he eliminated the strength of a boar, he added in bull strength, horse strength and half a turtle strength. Self-reliance Gu's effect had surpassed flesh bone. This state continued to persist and the spectators were starting to get bored, some even yawned. Too boring. I really wonder why Fang Zheng is putting in so much effort. Today, Zhu Ba also looks somewhat abnormal, why hasn't he attacked? Hasn't this been his style all along? First defend and waste his opponent's primeval essence and fighting spirit, then make his move, beating down his opponent. The problem lies here, Fang Zheng has too much energy, he has been attacking for so long with no results but he doesn't look the least bit discouraged. He is a strength cultivator, so his primeval essence consumption is also small. When will this stalemate end? You guys can't see what is going on. Zhu Ba is playing with the newbie. These words immediately caused the surrounding people to laugh. To these Gu masters who hung out in the battle zone all year round, Fang Yuan was indeed a very inexperienced newbie. Fang Zheng, there is no meaning in continuing this. I have no interest in your all-out effort Gu, I don't want to bully a newbie as a senior. It will be better for you to retreat, I promise I won't choose your Gu worms. Zhu Ba chuckled. He had received Fang Yuan's attacks which contained the boar's collision force, the crocodile's biting force and the brown bear's smacking force, but he was still able to laugh. What kind of strength is this? Indeed worthy of being rank 8 in 4th inner city. His strength is the real deal. The audiences were truly moved. Shut up, you fat pig. Fang Yuan suddenly shouted. The battle stage went silent. Chapter 300, Fang Yuan vs Zhu Ba. He actually dared to scold Senior Zhu Ba. This newbie is too arrogant. Lord Zhu Ba, teach him a lesson, let him know the depths of heaven and earth. After the short silence, the audience flared up. Young man, you should learn humility. I tried to persuade you with good intentions, never mind if you don't listen to it, but you still cursed me. How can a person behave like this? In the end, you will run into walls everywhere and no one will help you. Zhu Ba sighed. Fang Yuan laughed loudly, are you concerned about me, or are you just afraid to attack? More likely, you can only passively defend my attacks. Your ability to send countershock force to injure me while defending is really amazing, but how many Gu are you controlling to maintain such a defense? At least 3. Can't concentrate enough to attack while defending? I have already seen through your tricks, do you think I am like those idiot spectators? As he spoke, the spectators got furious and started shouting. What nonsense is this? He dares to call us idiots, my insight is much wiser than yours. This kid is overflowing with arrogance. Senior Zhu Ba, he is treating your kindness as dirt, please quickly teach him a lesson. Zhu Ba's expression changed and said in a grave tone, young man, since you are so ignorant, I will teach you a lesson to teach you reality. This is a good thing for you. He then moved. This movement was not a small action. His whole body curled into an enormous meatball and rolled towards Fang Yuan. At the same time, a pale black blade aura wrapped around the enormous ball. As the enormous ball rolled, stone slabs split open and stone fragments flew. The crushing attack fused with the sharp blade aura, further increased in might, making people feel the urge to dodge. It appeared, Lord Zhu Ba's killing move, rolling blade meat. The Gu master spectators shouted with excitement. Bai Ningbing's gaze concentrated, a movement-type rolling meat Gu with blade aura Gu. A normal person would not be able to unleash such power, but Zhu Ba's enormous body can amplify his attacking strength. Couldn't endure it anymore. Facing Zhu Bai's violent offense, Fang Yuan was not afraid but pleased instead, his lips outlining a trace of madness. Vertical Crash Gu. Boar Phantom. Abruptly, he charged straight towards the giant ball. Has this kid gone mad? Facing this attack head-on, does he not want his life? Someone is going to die. The audience were stunned. The two sides collided, Meatball's charge immediately slowed down while Fang Yuan was sent flying before falling heavily on the ground. Look, this is what happens when you overestimate yourself. This kid didn't die. Fang Yuan wiped off the bloodstains on the corner of his lips and jumped up. The giant ball charged towards Fang Yuan again. Fang Yuan gave a loud laugh before charging again. Thump. A dull thud and Fang Yuan was sent flying again. Thud. Sent flying once more. Thud. Sent flying yet again. This match is already set. Fang Zheng might have all-out effort Gu, but he unfortunately met an opponent who counters him. Someone commented, gloating in Fang Yuan's misfortune. It is difficult to overcome Zhu Ba's killer move. As his rolling speed increased, his striking force also became stronger. Actually, Fang Zheng's method was correct, to stop Zhu Ba's momentum immediately. But the way he chose to do it was too forceful. Another spectator sighed and shook their head. I have never seen such a stupid guy. Choosing to ram into Zhu Ba like this, most of the strength is returned back to him as countershock. Another spectator scoffed. This kid shouldn't be able to get up anymore. He actually got up. Fang Yuan was sent flying again and again, but also stood up each time. His injuries were not light, but self-reliance Gu gave him potent sustainability. Still so stubborn, then die. Zhu Ba let out an angry roar and fiercely rammed at Fang Yuan. Vertical Crash Gu. Fang Yuan did not change his battle tactic. Boar Phantom flashed above his head. The two sides collided like meteors. However, this time, Fang Yuan was not sent flying, instead his fist wedged deeply into the meatball. Rather it was the meatball that shook violently, as blade aura moved rampantly and slashed Fang Yuan like a dark waterfall. Fang Yuan was ruthlessly sent flying, as the blade aura was completely expended. Canopy Gu suffered heavy damage, the white light armor flickered weakly before dissipating completely. Fang Yuan's whole body was bathed in blood, deep and long injuries on all parts of his body as if he had been hacked by countless sharp knives. He was not like Bai Ningbing with the defense of her ice muscles, but still the tendons in his body were mostly intact and there was also no damage to his bones. Self-reliance Gu. Fang Yuan activated it and his blood loss immediately came to a stop, new flesh grew and the wounds began healing. However, the recovery of his tendons were slightly slower. Bai Ningbing's eyes flashed as she analyzed inwardly, without the Canopy Gu, it would be difficult for Fang Yuan to win this battle by just relying on self-reliance Gu's recovery. Right at this time, golden rays of light flashed around Fang Yuan. The light condensed and formed into a light armor, Golden Shield Gu. This kid has quite a few defensive Gu. First it was Canopy Gu and now it is Golden Shield Gu, both are great defensive rank 3 Gu. This kid is rich. Golden Shield Gu could not be used at the same time as Canopy Gu, it was always stored inside Fang Yuan and now it showed itself for the first time. Bai Ningbing was slightly dazed before coming back to her senses. She had gotten many new Gu worms, Fang Yuan certainly would also do the same. To Fang Yuan, Golden Shield Gu was slightly better than Canopy Gu since it was more suitable for his strength path methods. Even if you have Golden Shield Gu, the result remains the same. Zhu Ba's deep voice came from within the meatball. The meatball charged towards Fang Yuan, sending him flying again. How many times do I have to say it till you understand? You can't defeat me, you will only bring disgrace upon yourself if you continue. Zhu Ba sighed. Enough, how long are you going to keep acting? Fang Yuan stood up and wiped the bloodstains on his lips. Others felt no hope for him, but he saw victory waving at him. It was time. Fang Yuan lowered his eyes, covering his pupils which were flashing with a sharp light. Charge! He again charged head-on. Ungrateful kid, then I shall show it to you the true difference between us. Zhu Ba rolled towards him. Horizontal charge Gu. Fang Yuan suddenly charged horizontally and evaded. Vertical crash Gu. After charging 50 steps, he quickly turned his direction and charged. Howl! In the moments before collision, he activated all-out effort Gu, a brown bear phantom flashed. Under this attack, the meatball's skin and flesh folded over and over like the waves in river and sent the countershock back towards Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan was sent back several steps before he charged forward again. He unleashed violent attacks while constantly moving around the meatball, all his punches and kicks were targeted at different areas. This greatly raised the difficulty for Zhu Ba to defend. Right now, Fang Yuan's attacks were fiercer than ever before. Zhu Ba controlled his Gu worms frantically till he was no longer able to cope with it. The meatball trembled crazily but this time, it was not able to return even a bit of the force as countershock. Howl! Zhu Ba was extremely furious, he cancelled his meatball form and turned back to his human form. Blade aura formed again and flew towards Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan was overjoyed at this, the more Gu Zhu Ba used, more difficult it would be for him to control all of them. Zhu Ba's mind was already in a mess. The opponents he faced before would admit defeat after being struck several times. Even those persevering ones lost their fighting spirit after experiencing Zhu Ba's rolling attack. But unfortunately, he met Fang Yuan. There were many types of men in this world. Some loved their family and some had high ambitions. Among them, there was a type of man, after he has a clear goal and ambition, he cannot be stopped even if the whole world turned against him. Fang Yuan was such a man. No one could stop him, not to mention just merely this Zhu Ba. Horse Phantom. Vertical Crash Gu. His speed increased suddenly, rapidly charging 50 steps. Horse Strength increased his speed by 30% more than Boar Strength. Horse hooves hit the floor and sped forward. Zhu Ba did not expect Fang Yuan to still have this trump card and due to being caught unprepared, his blade aura hit the air behind Fang Yuan. As for Fang Yuan, he was already right before Zhu Ba. There were no words. Just one punch. This punch was incomparably powerful, exploding even the air around it. The heavy recoil from the punch destroyed the stone tiles under Fang Yuan's feet into countless shards and even shook the whole stage. Zhu Ba's fats trembled violently to disperse the force of the punch around his body before attempting to return 80% of the force back to Fang Yuan. However, Fang Yuan immediately followed with another punch. Zhu Ba's physique was huge and was poor at agility. The punch ruthless hit his body. Counter shock. Zhu Ba opened his eyes wide as he did his best to manipulate several gu in his body. However, he had just used all his concentration to manipulate Blade Aura Gu, and now he was activating other gu at the same time. It might be okay if he was at peak condition, but right now his mind was in disarray and his mental state had already weakened due to manipulating all the gu for such a long time. A flaw appeared. The fats on Zhu Ba's body that was shaking like water ripples stopped. His defense crumbled. He was still dispersing the force of Fang Yuan's previous force and so had to stiffly endure this punch. An intense pain assaulted him, causing his head to spin. The dispersing process of the force of Fang Yuan's punch was broken. 80% of the force exploded in all parts of his body. Backlash. In that instant, Zhu Ba's heart suddenly stopped due to the intense pain. Fang Yuan's fierce gaze flashed. He had been waiting for this moment for so long and he finally created it forcefully. Grabbing the opportunity, and strike. Punches were thrown out like the wind. Bear Phantom, Boar Phantom, Crocodile Phantom and Horse Phantom flashed in turns in midair. Wind whistled, Beast Phantoms roared, golden armor covered Fang Yuan's whole body as his punches exploded out with unrivaled fierceness. Under everyone's astonished gazes, the giant Zhu Ba was beaten into retreating and howling in pain by the dwarf Fang Yuan. However, Zhu Ba's extremely obese body forced him to become a punching bag. Fang Yuan's vigor rose continually, his unyielding ferocity birthed a feeling in all the spectators that this person could not be stopped. The intense pain surged like a tsunami and struck Zhu Ba head-on, almost drowning his consciousness. His thoughts were in a mess and he found it even more difficult to activate his gu to increase his defense. Fang Yuan firmly held the upper hand and Zhu Ba was already starting to show the white part of his eyes. How can this be? Just now, it was clearly. Was Fang Zheng right about him? The audience were in an uproar, the shocking swap of their predicament stupefied them.